People in academia usually do not have any time for the spiritual, and especially zile mambo za uchawi na uganga. And that is why it has come as a big shock to most Kenyans when one of our professors in the University of Nairobi, Professor Herman Manyora, who is also a YouTuber, has released a video explaining to Kenyans how Jirongo's torch has already started working and has started claiming victims. I have a lot of respect for the professor, but I'm wondering what his colleagues are saying. Now, don't get me wrong. Life is spiritual, and I agreed with many of the things the good professor said in his video, very popular video. What I'm wondering is, wasomi watasema nini? Yeah, because we all know in academia, it is all about critical analysis and scientific evidence. And of course, scientific evidence may not be very easy to find in spiritual manenos. On my show today, I'm going to support the professor's view that indeed Jirongo's torch has started working. However, even before I do that, I need to make it very clear what my stand on this issue is. You see, in the spiritual, it is just like in politics. It is very similar to this thing we have in politics, the other side of the political divide. So even in the spiritual, there is the other side of the spiritual divide. But I need to make it very clear that my faith, and by the way, I know that we have here people of many different faiths, and I have no problem with that. And definitely I should not have a problem, because it is super fascinating how we humans want to force people to come to our faith, to believe what we believe. And yet the Most High has given us a choice. So who are you as a human forcing people when the Most High has given us the freedom of choice? You choose which side of the spiritual divide you want to belong to. He does not force you. Why should a mere human try to force you? Anyway, bottom line, I want to make it very clear which side of the spiritual divide I belong to. Having said that, I need to say that spiritual laws apply to everybody and everything, even those on different sides of that spiritual divide. You know, I've received many requests to talk about the torch, but I'm afraid I cannot promote activities of the other side. And in my opinion, it is not a contradiction when I start talking about how the torch has worked. You know why? Because, as I've just said, spiritual laws apply everywhere. For instance, having human blood on your hands, and to make it worse, deliberately causing the passing on of another human. That is so serious. And sadly, one of the reasons why it is so serious is that it will affect generations and generations after you. Your innocent children, their children, and their children's children will be affected. So this is something so serious. Let me make it very clear before we specifically go into what has happened after the passing on of Cyrus Jirongo and the consequences on some people. The torch notwithstanding. Because torch or no torch, it is not possible to get away without any consequences when you deliberately take somebody's life or you order a hit. It is not possible to escape the consequences. But what usually happens is that the other side sometimes speeds up things. And how do they speed up things? They speed up things because they already have legal ground spiritually. Because the spiritual law is that there are consequences when you spill human blood. So they take advantage, they take that legal ground, and they try to speed up things in the spirit. That is really what happens. And of course, I'm keenly aware that Kenyans are very impatient. They want this thing to work immediately. They want vengeance immediately. They want these consequences to come out right away so that they see it before their very eyes. But vengeance belongs to the Most High, and it comes at His own timing, which usually is not on par with the timing of humans, especially Kenyans, right now. You know, usually what happens is that these people who have done these terrible things, they tend to live to suffer. They suffer terribly, which when you look at it more closely, is much more punishing, than sudden death. Na mambo inaisha hapo. The Most High keeps you in the land of the living, and you end up suffering a much more serious punishment. You know, in our history, some people have been accused of terrible crimes, linked to this thing of taking people's lives for the sake of power, to remain in power. Indeed, most of our politicians get drunk with power and believe that they can do anything they want and they will get away with it. Nobody can stop them. Okay? And many times, the guilty plead innocent. And they ask us a simple question. Show me the evidence. I'm innocent. Show me the evidence. But guess what? The evidence always comes out very clearly. We used to have a very powerful cabinet minister called Nicholas Kipiator Biwott. People accused him of all manner of things, including the murder of the late Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. John Robert Ouko. Now, here's the super fascinating thing. Biwott even used his fortunes to commission a very expensive documentary whose objective was to clearly prove that he was completely innocent. But guess what? The truth came out very clearly for all Kenyans to see. What happened to Biwott? Did he enjoy his fortunes? Did he live happily ever after until the day he left the earth? No. Biwott suffered. In fact, he lost his marbles. And for anybody who understands the spiritual even casually, it was clear Biwott's problem was the blood on his hands. It is also super fascinating that all past Kenyan presidents, something very interesting has happened. I will tell you what has happened. You come to your own conclusion. Jomo Kenyatta really suffered. He slipped in and out of comas. He even had terrible nightmares, so much so that he was frightened by frogs in State House, and therefore he never slept in State House, Nairobi, because of frogs. Indeed, in his latter years, other people ran the government. People even forged his signature. Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, the second president of Kenya, whom many Kenyans believed was very innocent, or rather some Kenyans believed he was very innocent, including yours truly, at one juncture, until I saw the light. What happened to Moi in his last days? He really suffered. He lost his marbles. Third president of Kenya, Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki. One of the earliest videos on this channel was of Kibaki giving a speech where nobody had any idea what he was talking about. Okay? I'm sure you get the drift. And so, with or without the torch, the consequences are very clear. And it is not possible to escape them. Unless, of course, you repent to the Most High, and you're very genuine, and you turn away from your old ways. But the problem is that most of these characters are very arrogant. They won't do that. Indeed, in many instances, in their minds, they have done nothing wrong. They were defending themselves, protecting their power, etc., etc. Now, what has happened since the passing on of Jirongo? Now, just a very quick aside. Many times, after the initial spilling of blood, what happens is that it leads to the deaths and spilling of blood of so many others. An excellent example is the brutal passing on of former IEBC computer guru, Chris Msando. What followed after the passing on of Msando was that many other innocent Kenyans lost their lives. I'm sure most of us remember that. Hii kitu nawaambia is serious. Please bear that in mind as we take a deeper look at what has happened after the passing on of Cyrus Jirongo. In my opinion, the government has never been the same again. Yes, already things were very bad, but in my opinion, they have gotten a lot worse after the passing on of Jirongo. You know, there are some people who have been mentioned as possible suspects behind this Jirongo thing. You will have noticed those characters have gone chini ya maji. You never hear about them these days. Why? Is it linked? Please make that call for yourself. I'm just giving you the facts. And then to make matters worse for these people, the season we are in is the season of exposure. So people like Biwott may have gotten away with many things because they were not really exposed. Yeah, they suffered, yes, but they were not really exposed after the fact. Okay, I know the article in the Ugandan newspaper that spilled the beans, mentioned his name, etc., etc. But in my opinion, that is nothing compared to what is going to happen in this season of exposure to those who have made that terrible, very wrong decision of ending others. And you will understand me better. You will totally understand, yeah, how serious this exposure is going to be when you take in the contents of my very latest ebook on what really happened to Jirongo. Yeah, you can see the cover on your screens right now, which is based on something that has happened in Kenya, something that happened in Kenya late last year, towards the end of last year, yeah, the Cyrus Jirongo fiasco, which is still being discussed by Kenyans. And this should be very good news for those who are not in a position to get my golden key or even to become temporary members of our highly sensitive special reports, because this ebook contains all the details in my highly sensitive special report analyzing exactly what happened to Jirongo. And there's more. This ebook includes information that was not in the previous highly sensitive special report, based on highly sensitive video footage that shed new light into this Cyrus Jirongo manenos. Now you can see details on your screens right now. For only $10, yeah, or Kenya shillings 1,290, you'll be able to get this ebook, and you will have that highly sensitive, crazy information. I have prepared a brief clip, yeah, talking about this ebook. Take a look. What really happened to the late Cyrus Jirongo? Well, putting together the bits and pieces, information in the public domain, and especially with the information that is not in the public domain, is still not in the public domain. This ebook makes some shocking revelations that will leave no doubt on your mind as to what exactly happened, including the mysterious hand seen very clearly on the passenger side of the vehicle where Jirongo's body was lying after the alleged head-on collision with the Climax bus, and also including the mysterious figure standing and observing and what their body language was saying. Mind blowing. So make sure you get your copy of this Kumekucha ebook that puts it all together for you and gives you the information that will blow your mind. You can see details on the screens right now. Please move with speed. This ebook is going to be available only for a very short time. Only $10 sent to the usual number, or Kenya shillings 1,290 to get this valuable piece of information, most of it which was only available to Golden Key members. This particular ebook is also available free to all holders of the Golden Key. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.